Today, I wanted to cover the origin story of Laura Kinney, aka X-23. She is my favorite mutant character of all time, and her character has always been a little special to me. Most of you may know her as the clone slash daughter of Logan, aka Wolverine. Laura was originally created for the X-Men Evolution show by Craig Kyle and Chris Yost, but quickly made her way into the books and gradually became one of the most popular and prominent X-Men characters of all time. She also showed up in the live-action movies Logan and the most recent Deadpool and Wolverine movie. She is one of the few exceptions where bringing a character from another medium has yielded rich dividends. Laura is an awesome character with excellent growth and development over the years, and it all began with the series X-23 Innocence Lost. Yes, I am aware that she made a debut in the NYX series, but pretty much everybody ignores that anyways, so I'm gonna consider Innocence Lost as her official debut and origin story. Innocence Lost was written by Craig Kyle and Chris Yost, her creators, and drawn by Billy Tan, and it's an incredible, gripping, and tragic series that I would consider a must-read for everybody, even if you are not familiar or interested in Laura Kinney X-23. Now, what is Innocence Lost? Innocence Lost reveals the origin story of Laura Kinney. The story chronicles her birth, her creation, her early life, and her eventual escape from the facility that created her. Her origin is considerably brutal and torturous, and this miniseries portrays that in detail, but never once does the violence feel gratuitous. It always serves a purpose to show how Laura was being tortured and being used as a child soldier, and how the violence slowly breaks her, even though she was literally bred for it. Innocence Lost is one of my favorite comic origin stories of all time, and the moment I read it for the first time, I knew that I was going to be forever invested in the character of Laura Kinney no matter what happens. It is the perfect place to start reading about Laura Kinney no matter what you may know about the character before. Now, I'm going to give you a brief overview of what the story is about. I mean, obviously, it's going to have spoilers, so if you do not want to be spoiled, I would recommend not listening to it. But I just wanted to give a brief overview. The story starts with Dr. Sarah Kinney being brought into the facility, which is trying to create a clone of Wolverine using some damaged DNA collected a long time ago. She's made to work with Dr. Xander Rice, who immediately dislikes her, and especially because he has to share control with Sarah. After trying for months, Sarah realizes that the Y chromosome is damaged and that the only viable option to move forward is to create a female genetic twin of Wolverine, but her suggestion is quickly shut down by the director. Regardless, she decides to keep trying to create a female clone without anyone's knowledge, and after several failed attempts, she manages to succeed at the 23rd attempt. She brings her success to the director and she gives him a choice. They could let her try to make a female genetic clone who would be ready within a year, or they could keep trying for 10 or 15 more years to make a male clone. Her stubbornness works and she gains approval despite Xander's protests. But Xander manages to gain the last laugh by making Sarah the surrogate mother needed to carry the female genetic twin, which forces her to take a backseat from the project. Her pregnancy is continuously monitored by the facility, and after a few months, she gives birth to the baby that would go on to become Laura Kinney. While she begs in her head for Laura to never forgive the people that did this to her, including herself. Once Laura was born and she had the chance to grow a little, the facility began her training through the most brutal methods possible. Orders were given to treat her only as a weapon and not as a child. Sarah started to feel more emotionally connected to Laura, while Xander took out his frustrations over Logan killing his father by experimenting and torturing Laura. He makes her undergo radiation poisoning to activate her X gene, performs surgery on her without anesthesia to coat her claws with adamantium, and finally creates a trigger scent that will send her into a mindless killing spree, while Sarah finds herself unable to do anything about all of it. After the development of the trigger scent, the facility sends Laura out to publicly kill a US presidential candidate at an event, and the massacre Laura creates brings them the attention they wanted to advertise their killing machine. X-23 quickly becomes one of the most sought after killing machines in the entire world, and her life becomes one of killing and destroying without anything holding her back. At the same time, Sarah slowly starts to lose control over everything as she is increasingly sidelined by Xander Rice and the director. Xander is unable to let go of his hatred and leaves X-23 to die during a mission, only for her to make her way back to the facility by herself because she had nowhere else to go in the world. Sometime later, Sarah breaks Lara out of the facility to save her niece, which leaves her wondering whether she is any different from the monsters she is working with. Xander eventually manages to trick the director into signing over the facility to him before having X-23 go on a mission to kill the director's family. Lara fulfills her mission and kills the director and his wife, but deliberately fails to kill the son and lets Sarah know the truth about what happened despite Xander warning her to not tell anyone. Sarah also gets to know what Xander has planned for the facility and his plan to create more clones like Laura. Overwhelmed and filled with guilt, especially after seeing Laura repeatedly hurt herself with her claws, Sarah decides to take it upon herself to free Laura from the facility and shut down the entire operation and the facility by having Laura kill Xander Rice once and for all. Sarah destroys all of the files while X-23 goes on a killing spree within the facility before finally making her way to Xander Rice. She remembers how he tortured her before finally putting an end to his life. But Xander gets the last laugh once again. He had already dosed Sarah with the trigger scent, and when X-23 meets up with Sarah, she ends up being forced into a mindless range and ends up killing Sarah. When she finally comes to her senses, Sarah names X-23 as Lara and tells her that she loves her before breathing her last breath. Lara eventually leaves and decides to find her place in the world, and that's where the Innocence Lost story ends, even though it only marks the beginning of an even longer and torturous journey for Laura Kinney. Throughout the series, we get glimpses into Sarah's thoughts as she writes a letter to Laura revealing her horrible childhood and the events that led her to be cruel, and how Laura's birth and subsequent torture changes her and forces her to want to be a better person, even if she acknowledges the monstrous things he had to do. The letter serves as an emotional background to a violent tale that forces us to further empathize with Laura and get an idea of why Sarah Kinney is worth rooting for despite the horrible things she did. I only gave a brief overview of the story that hopefully kindled your interest. I highly recommend reading and experiencing the story for yourself because I think this is the kind of story that will have a profound emotional impact on you after you finish reading it. Laura Kinney was brought into the world to kill, maim, and destroy as the mindless weapon X-23. But she chose her own path and ended up becoming a damn fine hero, and I think there's something extremely inspiring about that. And that's part of why Lara is one of my favorite characters of all time.